Hello, beautiful people. How are you doing? So, I've been really thinking about some things this morning. And as we're going through all of these massive, massive paradigm shifts, and we're waking up to who we are collectively and individually, I started to think about the theme of relationship. And I'm going to speak primarily to women, but I think men, like keep your ears open because this is about both of us. But the reason why I'm saying I'm speaking more to women is because I have spoken about this for years now. There's an epidemic of single women. But it's because women have done a lot of work on themselves to choose to no longer be in toxic, trauma bonded relationships where they're codependent, and which I'm not saying means the opposite of being too dependent. We're learning to be interdependent, both women and men. Women have been doing the work for years now. I know because I've been working with them, and I'm a woman myself going through it. Women have been working on their self-worth after thousands of years of patriarchy, after systemic abuse of the feminine and women and men. It's all of us, but women have had their plight, and so women have taken, they've taken the reins, they've taken the bull by the horns, and they're like, okay, what do we need to do to heal so that we don't continue to repeat the old patterns? And so women have been doing this work. And now what they're struggling with is to find men that can match them, that can be emotionally intelligent, that can have integrity, that can have courage and strength and presence and authenticity. And a lot of women now are choosing to be single over being in a relationship with a boy, being in something that's toxic, being in something that takes away from their peace rather than adding to their peace. And what women really need, I was just listening to a woman say this morning, which I thought was just so perfect. It's like, yes, a woman can do everything now. They can do it all on their own. They might not want to. Most of us really don't, but we can, right? And so this male coach was saying, well, a lot of men are like, well, what's my place? You can do it all on your own, right? And she said, but what a man can provide us with is an emotionally safe home to come back home to. And that is something that, just like, even just saying it, it's like a woman can just let go and feel safe, feel protected, feel provided for. It doesn't have to always be financial. That's lovely, as this woman was saying, but the emotional aspect of being held and feeling safe and supported so that we can just let go of being the man and the woman at once, right? That is such a beautiful gift to give to a woman, and to be devoted to her. And what I was listening to another video talking about how if a man is truly devoted to his woman and he's providing her with that safety, with that protection, with that emotional safety, she will be everything that he wants her to be naturally. Doesn't need to fight. And what this one woman was saying is that if a woman is showing up as anxious or control, all of these things, like, yes, there's self-responsibility. We need to do the inner work, all of us, hands down. But this, she's often a mirror, a reflection for the man's leadership or lack thereof. And so we're learning in this new paradigm of how to be in partnership in a different way, where both men and women are more interdependent, we're more authentic and sovereign. But what I want to talk about today is, what if we got the roles all messed up? Because the patriarchy has influenced us, Disney has influenced us so much to think that the man needs to be strong, and he needs to protect, and he needs to provide, and he needs to be the, this, so the woman can, relax. Yes, there is a desire for it. But I was thinking, actually, I'm going to save it. You're going to have to listen beyond the intro. I want to go into how I think we might have this a little bit upside down, or not upside down, but it's something needs to be changed, and it has to do with strength, and it has to do with feminine power, and it has to do with feminine and masculine roles, and it's not what we've been told. So I'm curious, and I want to dive in. So let's go. This is Corinne Bloom, and you're listening to raw conversations. So my reflections today was this. We have been under the patriarchy for a long time. And so, of course, in a patriarchal world, the most important sex, most important species is the man, the masculine, the male. And so even if we try to put it into like a healthy version of it, we are still putting kind of like the man at the helm. And if you look at times of either matriarchal societies or egalitarian societies, the focus is very different, right? So matriarchal societies, the women led, and egalitarian, obviously is all have an equal place at in the circle. And I think even in matriarchal times, from what I had studied years ago, where, even in matriarchal times, it was egalitarian, because the matriarchy, the feminine is about relating and about inclusion. And it really is this, non-hierarchical structure, but really like being in the circle. And I believe that we're very much needing to come into a very different system and cycle of being in the circle and not in the pyramid. But if we think about when we were in more matriarchal, egalitarian times, my sense is that the women were incredibly powerful, but not in the same way that this inverted, toxic lack of true masculine power, the patriarchy that we've seen is like, it's just not even, I don't even want to insult the masculine by saying it's anything masculine, because I think it's just so toxic on so many levels that it's in its own category now, right? But it has been male dominated. We have to be honest about that. And so it's not that kind of power, the power that is through greed and control and power over, right? I'm talking about an inner power of a woman knowing her strength and knowing herself and knowing how to lead and knowing how to create community, to create connection, to create all of these beautiful, it's like weaving the basket, right? Which the feminine can do so well. And on a side note, I want to share something personal that, I'm a single mother, and I've been doing this for a while now. And I'm a type of person I'm a very strong woman. I'm also very feminine, and I have emotions, and I'm, sensitive and intuitive, but I'm a very strong woman. And there have been times where I'm like, I'm so tired of being in my masculine. Like I can speak for, I think, most single women these days, that they're like, damn, I'm tired of being in my masculine. I'm tired of being both the woman and the man. I'm tired of having to be so strong. I'm tired of having to do it all on my, whatever. You get the gist. But this morning in my meditation, I always ask for a message from my, my soul, my higher self. And I really clearly heard, Corinne, you are in your strength, but it's your feminine strength. It doesn't have to be my masculine strength. I've been putting it in this like under the label of masculine strength, but actually feminine strength is very powerful. And I'm going through this personal experience right now where my self-worth is being tested. And what I mean by that is that I get to choose to show up in a way where my self-worth is really intact. My boundaries are very intact. My communication is so clear and concise and direct, but kind and mature and emotionally intelligent and authentic. And I'm not compromising myself, and I'm not losing myself. I'm really showing up, and I feel fucking solid within myself. And I feel good. I feel free. I feel calm. I feel centered. I feel grounded. I trust myself. And so I feel really strong right now. but it's a feminine strength. It's like my higher self is being like, no, 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 stop putting it in this category of you have to be the man and you have to be in this masculine strength. You are in your feminine strength, but your feminine strength is potent. It is powerful. And a masculine kind of strength is a different kind of strength. And sometimes, women are out in this society and they're having to dress up as a man, whether that's literal or figurative, right? But it's like, what if women were to really go, you know what? We are powerful, strong creatures. And when we're in our strength, it doesn't mean that we have to be in our masculine. We can be in our feminine strength. And you know what? We are just damn strong. And I've had many wonderful men say, not that it's a competition, but I've had many beautiful, wonderful men say, women are I'm going to use the word women are stronger than men. We have periods every month, we give birth, but also we have resilience because we have to build and cultivate resilience every single month, right? Just with our cycle alone. But it's interesting to me that, we have the science. This is not just like some woo-woo idea. We have the science, it's the biology that we all start with XX chromosome. And what this one man was kind of venturing to say is like, okay, that's interesting. Like we've been told by the Bible that, a woman comes from Adam's rib. Don't even get me started on that one. and some, texts will say a woman is here to obey and serve a man. I mean, it will literally say that. I think most people, not actually, I can't say most people, I have no idea. I would hope most people would think that's ridiculous, but there are still some cultures and there's still some people that think, yeah, a woman is made to serve and obey, a man. And what this man was saying is that if we all originate with XX and then it mutates into XY to create man, then he thinks, well, the feminine was here first. And so the masculine must have been designed in some way to serve the feminine. I'm going to be very careful because I understand that this could be triggering for some to go, oh, well, then men, you're turning it around and men have to be subservient and servant and obey the women. No, that's the patriarchal, hierarchical pyramid structure. Leave that alone. I'm not talking in those terms at all. And if you misunderstand me, please reflect on that because this is not a battle between men and women. We are in the same circle and we've got to get over the shit of division and competition. It's what the patriarchy has created. And you need to say, you know what? We're not playing that game anymore. So let me make that incredibly clear. I'm not talking about sides here. So don't even put that on the table. If anybody leaves me a comment that's on that, it's like you're going to say, you missed the point. You didn't listen to the video. We're all in the circle. We're all here for one another, for each other. Okay. I just want to be very clear with that, lovingly and fiercely clear about that. But he said there must be a role that a man plays, that he's come in after the fact as something that beautifully supports the feminine, the XX chromosome. He was created for a reason, right? And so then I started to think, what is the most beautiful thing that a man can do that makes him feel really good and that a woman really needs that she can't provide for herself? And what this woman was saying is when a man can create emotional safety for a woman, where he can make her feel at home, because she knows that she's emotionally safe. And when he is in devotion to her, with his love and his adoration for the beautiful woman that he adores and loves. And as this other podcast was talking about, that when a man does that for a woman, she will become everything that he wants her to be, not in a manipulative way, but meaning all of the qualities that he would love to receive from the feminine. He will get that because this is the thing. We work together and we've been in a society that has made us compete against each other and tried to find who has the upper hand, what ball is in whose court, who has the power. Fuck all of that. That's all competitive. And we're taught that from education with children, competitive sports. Everything is about division. Everything is about competition because it keeps us separated, because they know that when we are in unity with each other, we are beyond powerful. And we are the point of access to the divine. We can do that individually, but when we come together in unity and harmony and collaboration, it's a force to be reckoned with. It's exquisitely beautiful and divine. So when, in a tantric way, when both man and woman can bow and be of service, not in a slavery way, again, words need new connotations, new definitions, but when we can be of service to each other in the most beautiful way, then our individual beautiful roles and qualities of woman and man come together in symbiosis to really just so inherently, naturally create something that is so beautiful. We balance each other out. We feed and enhance one another. And it's so exquisite when we're not in fucking competition with each other. But there's something that, a man wants to provide. He wants to protect. He wants to make his woman happy. Never mind what society will say and this and that and the other. I've seen it. I've studied it. I've listened to it. I've heard it. I've read it a million times over. I've heard it from the mouth of a man. They are so happy when their woman is happy. And they want to give. They don't want a nagging, bitchy wife, right? But that's when we're already off kilter. So when a man makes a woman feel like, I'm here to make sure that you feel supported, not father, daughter, not mother, son. We're not going into that kind of unhealthy dynamic. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about man to woman, adult to adult. And I want to just put a thing that in the intro, I said, boy, I don't mean like a little kid. I mean a man-child. I want to make that very clear because that could be taken out of context. Anyway, I digress. When we're coming from this mature place and a man is in devotion to the woman opens, she softens, and she becomes so nurturing and so loving and so caring. I can say that for myself. That when my man is, I can feel that he's totally devoted and loves me and adores me and is wanting to take care of me and is wanting to protect me. My heart opens up so big and I have nothing but just love and nurture, and I believe in him and I support him and I encourage him and I sometimes give him the wind beneath his wings or the fire under his ass or whatever. But you work as a team. You work as a team. And when one is slightly off, it means that connection between the two is off. But if we go with what this man was talking about scientifically, about the XX coming first and then the XY chromosome coming second, and again, not from a hierarchical perspective, not from a slave to, owner person, we're getting out of that hierarchical, patriarchal bullshit. And we're really into how do we serve one another. But if the man can take that leadership, because he's good at that, to be in devotion to her, then she equally serves him in the way that he needs, because a lot of men need a hell of a lot of nurture. Men are very sensitive. They've just been in a society that's told them that they can't, but they're very, very sensitive. Sometimes I would say more so than women. They need to also feel safe in their own way. So if a man comes in actually let me go back to what I was talking about with matriarchy. If the XY chromosome has come in to support the women that are actually, maybe women, when, let's face it, matriarchal times, egalitarian times have been a hell of a lot healthier than this. Maybe like men at the helm alone ain't doing good for the world, ain't doing good for any of us. It's not even doing good for them. Men are in a total crisis right now. They're in a complete loss of identity. And they need that feminine nurture. But what if women don't need the man to be this kind of, maybe it's a lot of pressure for men too, to feel like they have to be the fucking knight in shining armor and they need to do all this shit. And then, the woman is the opposite of that. Like, what if actually women are meant to lead? What if women are meant to be in the circle of elders? And my personal opinion is this should be both women and men. But the feminine would take on that, would set the tone for that family. And I'm sorry, but what comes first? It's the mother. She's the one that births creation. And the most beautiful thing in birth is when the man is like, I'm just here, baby. I'm here to support you. Tell me what you need. And again, it's not about the unhealthy. Don't invert this and make it into the woman gets to boss the man and nag. No, 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 no. I'm talking about in our pure, divine, mature, spiritually grounded self, right? This requires both man and woman to take self-responsibility and to do the inner work, okay? And not come from our wounds, not come from trauma, not come from triggers, self-responsibility, sovereignty, autonomy, interdependence, and authenticity. So I'm talking about this in the healthiest version that it can be. But what if men were here to, it's like the vision that I see is like the guardians of the circle. So I had this vision of like big stones, and for some reason I see it in like kind of tribal, no, I don't want to use tribal because I don't like tribalism, but I see these like men standing around, like with spear in hand and standing around this circle. And at the center, there's the women that are in this sacred circle, and they are connected to the earth. They're connected to the divine. They're connected to the wound. They're connected to that 0 point of creation. And they create life, and they create everything that a community, a family, we need another word for society. I don't want society. I want something that is more regenerative and not about worker bees and hierarchy, but about inclusion and this circular system, and how every person has their own unique gift and role to play within the collective, within the collaborative. But that men are here to support women to be in that role. But we need each other. And by us feeling supported, we can give and we can nurture. But what if women were like, you know what? Yeah, I'm damn strong. And it doesn't mean that I'm in my masculine. It means that I'm a fucking powerful woman. But it doesn't mean power over. It just means that, yeah, I am really powerful, and I don't need a man that's going to be, stronger and can do everything and make sure that I'm safe and protected and this and that and the other. Like, what if I'm the strong one, and that his gift is his devotion, and that his devotion gives us power and strength. And by us feeling like we're in our power and strength, we nurture and we give love, and that makes him feel strong and powerful. It makes him feel loved and nurtured. It makes him feel appreciated, which men need so much. It makes him feel respected. It makes him feel honored. It makes him want to stand up and be like, yes, I'm going to support my woman. I'm going to stand up for my community. I'm going to stand up for the elders. I'm going to stand up for the wise ones. I'm going to stand up for the children. Look at what's happening in the world right now. None of this abuse would happen if women were at the helm, and if men weren't like really supporting them, and we're at the helm together. We need each other. But this idea that a woman needs to have this knight in shining armor, it's such an illusion. Or that if she's on her own, she's in her masculine power. No, you are in your feminine power. But of course, you have to be in the mature, emotionally intelligent part of yourself. There's a lot of the feminine can also be chaotic and wild and totally immature if we haven't taken care of our inner child, if we haven't looked at our wounds, right? Again, I'm coming from the perspective of seeing us in our healthiest version. And this is what we can grow and evolve into, should we choose. There's something about it that it's so hard to put it into words. It's so hard to articulate it. And I feel like, oh, Corinne, you're not saying it right. But I know the feeling. And I just think this tweak could be that women need to stop comparing themselves to men and thinking that when they're strong, that their being in the masculine, their strength comes by being a woman. And a man's strength will come by supporting the fact that women have a lot of fucking power in the most beautiful way. And that it creates this cycle of reciprocation, of mutuality. The whole thing only makes sense when we come out of the hierarchical pyramid structure, when we come out of servant and master, when we come out of competition, when we come out of this power play, when we come into the circle as equals, understanding that our roles are here to support one another. And like, what if the woman, the female, the feminine was here first and the man was created to support her? What if she is the one that's meant to lead? We're constantly wanting the men to lead. What if the women are meant to lead, but the man is like the backbone, the protective layer, the protective rim of the circle? And we cannot do it without them, and they cannot do it without us, because it's not codependency, it's interdependency, and it's how nature works, right? Think of permaculture, how every plant helps another plant to grow, to keep away the pests. They suffer in monoculture, right? So maybe we need to kind of reframe what our roles are, and that, men don't have to always take the pressure of being the leader and the strong one. And women also don't feel like, oh, I can only be in my feminine when I'm like, oh, I can be in my goddess self and it's like light and floaty. No, you can be a fucking fierce lioness as well. And that doesn't mean you're in your masculine. Maybe it means you're more in your feminine than you've ever been. And look at, mama lions, fierce and loving. They protect the pack. They lead the pack. They think, oh, it's the male. Those female lions are the ones that are like taking charge. But the masculine has his role. The male lion has his role, because ultimately he will defend. He will defend his family. Let's not talk about the cubs. But anyway, that's another thing. It's not purely a good analogy, but you get the gist, right? You get the point. There's more to say about this, but I'm going to leave it at that. And please don't make it some political correct or incorrect thing. Words are very limiting. Words are very charged because of our current definitions and our current connotations. And we kind of have to just like get over all that stuff and understand the sentiment, understand the transmission of it. What we've been doing doesn't work. We all know that. We should all know that. And if we don't, there's a problem. What we do need to do is start to work with each other, for each other, together, in collaboration. And when we play around with the roles that feel the most intuitive and natural, and of course there's a lot of unlearning to do, I somehow feel like we just take the pressure off, and we can eventually fall into a greater state of flow, into balance, into equilibrium, because we're fighting so much with these goddamn roles that society has told us to fit into. Men don't always want to be strong, but a woman also needs her man to be strong. But a man also needs to have his woman like not be a chaotic, emotional, immature mess, right? And at the root of it, we both need to feel safe. We both need to feel loved, appreciated, valued. And, maybe in every relationship, there's a different way that this presents itself depending on that particular unique dynamic, right? That's okay. But I just feel this feminine rising is going to come up in a very different way than we've been perceiving it. And we need to start redefining and using different language and start relating to ourselves very differently, especially as women. For me personally, I'm a very strong woman, and I keep on saying I need a man that matches that. But maybe I don't need a man that is like so strong, but his his devotion and his, you know, it makes me think of what this actress, I don't know her name, but she's so beautiful and she speaks so clearly and so concisely, and she's a really good example. She was an actress. She's British but Indian descent, and she was in The Good Place. And she's strong. She's a strong woman, and she's very outspoken, and she speaks clearly and concisely and eloquently. And she was talking about how the most manly man that she's ever met is her boyfriend, but he's actually incredibly feminine and very sensitive. But she's like, he's a man. You know, she says the most macho men are the men that kind of comply. They're the ones that will just do what they're told. They often don't have a spine from themselves or critical thinking. It's the men that actually hold this beautiful femininity. And I'm not talking about the linen shirts and the mala beads and the bun heads and the, nah. I'm talking about the true qualities of feminine and masculine. And when a man is in touch with his heart and his feelings and his sensitivity, and he makes a woman feel safe, you know, yeah, maybe she becomes the one that actually is holding the strength and the power, but it's a different quality and it still nurtures. And there's a different kind of strength and power that gets created by two. And I think ultimately what all of this is about is that men and women are needing to be in a healthy, balanced combination of masculine and feminine within themselves, right? Balance of right brain, left brain, masculine, feminine, yin, yang. We all need to do that. We've been on overdrive and in an unhealthy inverted version, right? So there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done. And this maybe needs to be a continued conversation. My apologies if I can't quite articulate it the way that I would like to articulate it. I feel it. And maybe that's the thing. It's like, I think we're going to get to a point, hopefully when telepathy comes online, where we don't have to use words because words are so limiting. I've said that since some of the first workshops I ever ran like 16 years ago. It's like, words don't describe this well enough right now, but I know the feeling. So I just hope that I can transmit, you know, the essence of it, the energy of it, the frequency of it. And, you know, maybe I didn't get the words right. Maybe I'll need to explain it better still. But I can feel it in my bones, and it feels amazing because it feels so supportive of both men and women. So I'll let that be. As always, take it or leave it as feels right for you. But, you know, I invite you to be open. I invite you to play with it. And like, what are the ways that you can imagine it, feel it, sense it, envision it? And how can we create a new vision together? And how can we really honor the roles that maybe we were meant to be in that are totally different to what we've been in society? I would kind of go so far to say that anything that we've been doing in this society, I pretty much guarantee that most of it is backwards. Most of it is not right. We've been in the inverted matrix. So we want to go back to the organic intelligence, the organic natural universe matrix, the organic woman and man. And in that we'll find divinity, and in that we'll return home, and in that we'll create a beautiful world. That's my dream, folks. That's my vision. That's my mission. Anyway, as always, take it or leave it as feels right for you, and loving you from afar. Bye. You've been listening to Raw Conversations with Corinne Bloom. Thanks so much for showing up, listening in, and being a part of the conversation with me.